There's a difference between breaking down and being broken. Todd Henniger understood that difference on March 14, 2019, when his 13-month-old Massey Ferguson 8S.265 lost all hydraulic pressure in the middle of a 600-acre pre-plant tillage pass. Not a slow leak, not a fitting failure. Complete system collapse at 340 hours. The kind of failure that doesn't whisper, it screams. Todd had run Massey Ferguson equipment for 22 years on his 2,100-acre corn and soybean operation outside Hays, Kansas. His father had run Red Iron before him. They weren't brand fanatics, but they were loyal. The 8S.265 was a $310,000 investment, financed, like most equipment in his class, through a combination of Massey Ferguson Financial and a local ag lender who knew his numbers. He'd ordered the tractor in late 2017, taken delivery in February 2018, and put it to work immediately. It handled spring tillage, summer cultivation, fall grain cart duty, and winter snow removal. The Dyna VT continuously variable transmission was smooth. The 270 horsepower engine had never hesitated. By every operational standard, it was performing exactly as promised. Until it wasn't. When the hydraulics died, Todd was 8 miles from the shop. He called his dealer, a 40-year independent Massey Ferguson operation in Russell, Kansas, run by a man named Glenn Hoffmeyer. Glenn had sold Todd's father his first tractor in 1991. He'd financed Todd's first combine in 2003. He knew the Henniger operation down to the soil type. Glenn sent a service truck within an hour. The diagnostic took 90 minutes. Catastrophic failure in the hydraulic pump assembly. Metal shavings throughout the system. Contaminated fluid in the reservoir. The entire hydraulic circuit would need replacement. Pump, lines, filters, actuators, the works. Estimated cost, $43,000. But Todd had a factory warranty. Massey Ferguson's powertrain coverage ran 2 years or 2,000 hours, whichever came first. He was at 340 hours, well within limits. The calendar didn't matter. This should have been a phone call, a claim number, and a parts order. Glenn filed the warranty claim that afternoon. Massey Ferguson Corporate denied it 72 hours later. The reason? Improper hydraulic fluid. According to the claim rejection email, a fluid analysis showed contamination inconsistent with factory spec Permatran 3. The denial cited Section 12.3 of the operator's manual, which required Massey Ferguson approved fluids only, and noted that use of incorrect lubricants voids hydraulic system coverage. Todd read the email 3 times. He'd never opened the hydraulic reservoir except to check the level. The tractor had been serviced exclusively at Glenn's dealership. Every fluid change, every filter, every inspection documented in the service portal. Glenn used factory fluids. He had the receipts, he had the invoices, he had the fluid batch numbers. Glenn called Massey Ferguson's warranty department directly. They repeated the same script. Fluid analysis showed contamination. Claim denied. Glenn asked for the lab report. They said it was proprietary. He asked which fluid specification had been violated. They referred him back to Section 12.3. He asked if there was an appeals process. They said he could submit documentation, but the fluid analysis was conclusive. Glenn had been in the equipment business for 43 years. He'd processed thousands of warranty claims. He knew when a denial was legitimate and when it was a deflection. This felt like a deflection. But he also knew the reality. Without warranty coverage, Todd was facing a $43,000 repair on a 13-month-old tractor that was still carrying $270,000 in debt. Todd didn't have $43,000 in liquid capital sitting in a checking account. No farmer does. Cash flow in agriculture is seasonal, lumpy, and heavily dependent on harvest revenue that doesn't arrive until October. A spring repair bill of that size meant pulling from operating credit, delaying other purchases, or worse, risking a default that could trigger cross-collateral clauses in his loan agreements. Glenn offered to split the cost as a goodwill gesture, half dealer absorption, half customer pay. Todd appreciated it, but he didn't accept because this wasn't about the money anymore, it was about the manual. Todd went home that night and pulled out the operator's manual that had come shrink-wrapped with the tractor. He'd never read it cover to cover, nobody does, but now he had reason. Section 12.4.3 specified Permatran 3 hydraulic fluid. but Section 12.4.4, one paragraph later, listed acceptable equivalent specifications that included standard UTF multi-purpose tractor-holic oils that met ATCO Power Fluid 821XL standards. Glenn's dealership had used an approved equivalent. It was on the list. It was in the manual. Massey Ferguson Corporate had denied the claim, citing a fluid that was explicitly approved in their own documentation. Todd called Glenn. Glenn pulled the service records and cross-checked the fluid spec. Todd was right. The fluid was compliant. The denial was contradictory. Glenn called Massey Ferguson again. This time, he got a different representative. She reviewed the claim, put him on hold for 11 minutes, then came back with the same answer, denied due to contamination. Glenn asked if the contamination was related to the fluid type or a failure in the hydraulic pump itself. She said she couldn't speculate on failure causation. He asked if a pump failure could introduce metal contamination into otherwise compliant fluid. She said that would be a technician-level question. He said he was the technician. She said the claim was denied and the decision was final. Glenn hung up and told Todd the truth. Corporate wasn't budging. Todd sat with that for about 6 hours. Then he did something that would change the entire situation. He posted the denial email in a private Facebook group called Kansas Grain and Cattle Coalition, a 4,200-member group of farmers, ranchers, and ag professionals across central and western Kansas. The post was simple, no rant, no profanity, just the facts. Massey Ferguson denied my warranty claim on a 340-hour tractor due to improper fluid, even though the fluid is listed as approved in their own manual. Dealer used factory-approved equivalent. Corporate won't provide the lab report. Stuck with a $43,000 bill on a 13-month-old machine. Anyone else dealt with this? He attached a photo of the manual section and a redacted copy of the denial email. Within 2 hours, the post had 140 comments. Most were stories. A farmer in Colby, Kansas, had been denied a transmission warranty claim on a 7600 series combine because of excessive idling, even though the machine's own telematics showed normal operational patterns. A rancher near Oakley had a 5S 115 utility tractor with a failed front axle at 280 hours. Denied for overloading, even though the loader work was well within rated capacity. A farmer in Scott City had a DM306 disc mower warranty denial for impact damage that the dealer argued was a metallurgical defect. Every story followed the same pattern: a failure within warranty, a technical denial based on vague or contradictory manual language, and no appeals process that didn't require a lawyer. By morning, the post had 340 comments and had been shared into 6 other regional ag groups. One of those shares landed in front of a man named Carl Obermiller. Carl was 71 years old. He ran a 4,800-acre wheat and milo operation near Ness City, Kansas. He'd survived the 1980s farm crisis by keeping his equipment longer, fixing things himself, and never trusting a corporation to act in his interest unless forced. Carl didn't own a Massey Ferguson. He ran deer. But he knew what a warranty denial felt like, and he knew what happened when farmers fought corporations alone. They lost. But when they fought together, the math changed. Carl called Todd directly. They'd never met, but Carl knew Todd's father from the county co-op board in the 1990s. The conversation lasted 8 minutes. Carl's proposal was simple. If Massey Ferguson won't honor a warranty on approved parts, they need to see what happens when farmers stop pretending corporations care about fairness. I'll make some calls. You keep that tractor where it sits. Todd agreed. Carl started calling. Not corporate, not lawyers. Farmers. Within 24 hours, Carl had contacted 14 farmers who'd shared similar stories in the Facebook thread. He asked each of them the same question. Are you willing to make Massey Ferguson uncomfortable? 12 said yes. Carl's plan wasn't complicated. Massey Ferguson's central U.S. parts distribution center was located in Wichita, Kansas, a 210,000 square foot facility that supplied parts to dealerships across an 8-state region. Every day, trucks moved in and out carrying hydraulic pumps, transmission components, filters, electronics, and sheet metal. If those trucks stopped moving, dealerships ran out of parts. If dealerships ran out of parts, repairs stopped. If repairs stopped, farmers couldn't plant. And if farmers couldn't plant, Massey Ferguson Financial stopped receiving loan payments. Carl wasn't planning to damage anything. He wasn't planning to trespass. He wasn't planning to make threats. He was planning to park. On April 2nd, 2019, 19 days after Todd's hydraulic failure, Carl Obermiller drove his 2016 John Deere 8370R to the access road outside Massey Ferguson's Wichita Distribution Center. He parked it across the entrance at 5:47 a.m., shut it off, and climbed down. 14 minutes later, a farmer from Jetmore arrived in a Case IH Magnum 340, then a New Holland T8.435 from Hoxie, then a Massey Ferguson 8690 from Kinsley. By 7 a.m., there were 19 tractors. By 9 a.m., there were 34. By noon, there were 63. The tractors were parked in a loose formation across both vehicle entrances and the primary truck loading dock. They weren't blocking emergency exits. They weren't blocking employee parking, but they were absolutely blocking commerce. No parts trucks could enter. No delivery vehicles could leave. Massey Ferguson's regional operations manager came out at 8:30 a.m. and asked what was happening. Carl handed him a printed copy of Todd Henniger's warranty denial email and a one-page statement signed by 41 farmers. The statement read, "Massey Ferguson Corporate has repeatedly denied legitimate warranty claims using contradictory manual language and undisclosed lab reports. We represent over $70 million in active Massey Ferguson equipment loans and leases. We are not damaging property. We are not threatening anyone. We are simply ensuring that Massey Ferguson experiences the same operational delays that farmers experience when corporate refuses to honor warranties on failed equipment. This protest will continue until Todd Henniger's warranty claim is approved and corporate establishes a transparent appeals process for denied claims. We will remain peaceful. We will remain here." The operations manager read it twice, then walked back inside. 30 minutes later, a Wichita Police Department patrol unit arrived. The officer spoke with Carl for about 15 minutes, reviewed the situation, and confirmed that the tractors were parked on a public access road, not private property. As long as they weren't blocking emergency access and weren't creating a public safety hazard, it was a civil matter, not a criminal one. The officer left. At 1 p.m., a Massey Ferguson corporate attorney called Carl's cell phone. The number had been included in the printed statement. The attorney explained that the protest was disrupting business operations and requested that the farmers disperse. Carl asked if Massey Ferguson was prepared to approve Todd Henniger's warranty claim. The attorney said that was a separate issue handled by a different department. Carl said the issues were connected. The attorney said blocking a distribution center wouldn't change warranty policy. Carl said they'd see. The call ended. By 3 p.m., the tractor count had grown to 78. Farmers were arriving from Nebraska, Oklahoma, and eastern Colorado. Some drove Massey Ferguson equipment. Most didn't. The protest had stopped being about brand loyalty. It was about leverage. Local news stations arrived around 4 p.m. Carl gave a brief interview to a Wichita NBC affiliate. He didn't yell. He didn't swear. He spoke in the same measured tone he used when testifying at county commission meetings. Massey Ferguson denied a warranty claim on a 13-month-old tractor using fluid specifications that their own manual lists as approved. The farmer followed the rules. The dealer followed the rules. Corporate changed the rules after the failure. We're here to remind them that farmers are their customers, not their liability. The interview aired on the 6 p.m. news. By 8 p.m., the story had been picked up by AgWeb, Successful Farming, and Farm Journal. By midnight, it was on Reddit. Massey Ferguson Corporate issued a statement at 9:30 p.m. through their public relations office. Massey Ferguson is committed to supporting our customers and dealers. We are currently reviewing the situation in Wichita and are working to resolve any outstanding service concerns through appropriate channels. It was a holding statement. It said nothing. The farmers stayed. Day 2 began at 5 a.m. with 81 tractors. Massey Ferguson hired private security to monitor the protest. The security team took photos, logged vehicle VINs, and reported back to corporate. They didn't engage. At 10 a.m., a senior warranty manager from Massey Ferguson's North American headquarters in Duluth, Georgia, called Glenn Hoffmeyer's dealership. The manager asked for a full technical breakdown of Todd Henniger's hydraulic failure, including fluid samples, service records, and diagnostic reports. Glenn provided everything within 2 hours. The manager said they'd expedite a review. Glenn asked for a timeline. The manager said 48 to 72 hours. Glenn called Todd and relayed the update. Todd called Carl. Carl's response was direct. They've had 19 days. They can review it in 19 hours or we add more tractors. By end of day 2, there were 87 tractors outside the Wichita distribution center. Day 3 brought rain. The farmers didn't leave. They set up tarps, brought thermoses of coffee, and rotated shifts so that drivers could go home, shower, and return. Nobody was sleeping in the tractors. This wasn't a campout. It was a calculated disruption. Massey Ferguson's parts distribution network was beginning to fracture. Dealerships across Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma were reporting parts delays. Repairs were being postponed. Customers were calling. At 2 p.m. on day 3, Massey Ferguson Corporate sent a representative to the protest site. His name was Eric Darnell. He was the regional customer service director, a middle management position with enough authority to make decisions, but not enough to set policy. Eric met with Carl, Todd, and 4 other farmers in a tent that had been set up near the road. Eric's message was conciliatory but firm. Massey Ferguson was willing to re-examine the warranty claim, but the protest needed to end first. Carl's response was immediate. Approve the claim, then we leave. Eric said he didn't have authority to approve claims on site. Carl said then he wasn't the right person to be having the conversation. Eric asked what it would take to de-escalate. Todd spoke for the first time in the meeting. I want the lab report that shows my fluid was out of spec. I want documentation of which specification was violated. I want a written explanation of why an approved equivalent fluid triggered a denial. And I want my tractor fixed under warranty, not as a goodwill gesture, but as a contractual obligation that Massey Ferguson failed to honor. Eric said he'd relay the requests. The meeting ended. That night, the story hit national ag media. Farm Progress, DTN, and The Farmer published detailed breakdowns of the protest. Trade publications began investigating Massey Ferguson's warranty denial patterns. Data started emerging. Between 2016 and 2019, Massey Ferguson's warranty claim denial rate had increased by 34% across North America, even as total equipment sales had declined by 11%. The denials disproportionately targeted hydraulic and electronic failures, which were among the most expensive repairs. It looked like a cost-saving strategy disguised as quality control. Day 4 was a Saturday. The tractor count dropped to 71. Some farmers had weekend obligations. But the media attention intensified. An agricultural economics professor from Kansas State University published an op-ed in the Wichita Eagle analyzing the financial mechanics of warranty denials. His conclusion: manufacturers saved an estimated $8,000 to $15,000 per denied claim, but the long-term brand loyalty cost was incalculable. Massey Ferguson's PR team went silent. Day 5 brought a shift. At 11 a.m., Todd Henniger received a phone call from Massey Ferguson's North American Warranty Operations Director, a woman named Sharon Kelter. Sharon didn't apologize, but she also didn't deflect. She told Todd that his claim had been re-reviewed by a senior technical team. The fluid analysis had been re-examined. The conclusion: the contamination was caused by internal pump failure, not external fluid incompatibility. The original denial had been issued in error. The warranty claim was approved. Massey Ferguson would cover the full repair cost, parts, labor, and a loaner tractor during the repair window. Additionally, Sharon informed Todd that Massey Ferguson was implementing a new warranty appeals process that would include third-party arbitration for disputed claims and mandatory disclosure of lab reports when fluid or lubricant contamination was cited as a denial reason. Todd asked if the policy change would apply to past denied claims. Sharon said it would apply going forward. Todd said that wasn't enough. Sharon asked what he wanted. Todd said every farmer who'd shared a similar denial story in the Facebook thread deserved a re-review under the new transparency standards. Sharon said she'd propose it to senior leadership. Todd thanked her and hung up. He called Carl. Carl made one more call, this time to Eric Darnell. The message was simple: the claims approved, the policies changing, we'll clear the road by end of business today. But if Massey Ferguson backtracks, we'll be back with twice as many. At 4:47 p.m. on April 7, 2019, 6 days after the protest began, the tractors started their engines and drove away from the Wichita Distribution Center. No arrests had been made, no property had been damaged, no violence had occurred, but commerce had stopped, and policy had changed. Todd Henniger's 8S Type 265 was fully repaired under warranty by April 15th. The hydraulic system was rebuilt with factory parts at no cost. He returned to the field and finished spring planting on schedule. Glenn Hoffmeyer's dealership processed 14 warranty re-reviews over the following 6 months. 11 were approved under the new transparency standards. Massey Ferguson never issued a public apology, but they did issue a revised warranty manual in July 2019 that clarified approved fluid specifications and established the third-party arbitration process. Carl Obermiller never bought a Massey Ferguson tractor, but he kept the photo of 87 tractors parked outside that distribution center in a frame on his office wall, not because it was a victory, because it was a reminder. Corporations don't honor warranties because it's right. They honor them because it's expensive not to. And sometimes making it expensive requires 87 farmers who understand that solidarity costs fuel and time, but losing your leverage costs everything. Todd Henniger still runs Massey Ferguson equipment, but now when he opens the operator's manual, he doesn't just read the specifications, he reads the footnotes. Because in farming, the difference between coverage and denial isn't always mechanical. Sometimes it's about who's willing to park a tractor and wait.